So, Hol Horse versus Mista, two of the only firearm stands in JoJo's. And no, I'm not counting Foo Fighters because she's a fraud.
You're a fraud, Spider-Man!
And out of these two stand users, who would win? And that's what I'm going to be going into in this video. I'm going to be talking about the logistics of both their stands and the capabilities. I will be going over anime and manga spoilers, so do watch out for them. But anyway, let's get into the GOAT versus GOAT discussion. Now, the major thing that sets their stand apart is actually the bullets of Mista's being sentient and them actually having their own unique personalities. Also, Emperor performs more like a traditional gun than Mista's. In terms of practicality, Hol Horse has Mista beat by a mile, because just how practical Emperor is, you can summon it on hand, you don't need to worry about bullets. And then I think on the other hand, Mista's more versatile because there's just way more combos that Mista can perform with his bullets. Hol Horse's main ability is to control his bullets when he fires them, but if they get too far away, he can't control them. This will be really good if it's like a close quarter fight, because he can just control it and control it straight into Mista. One major advantage that Mista actually has is he can ricochet his bullets off of each other, like leading to more combos and stuff like that towards Hol Horse and making it more unpredictable. I think something we can all admit about Hol Horse is he's a bum, okay?
You're trash, Brock.
Alright, this guy's a fraud, okay? He runs away from every single fight he can. Like, he never faces anyone on his own. He always has to team up with other people. So fighting Mista on his own is going to be a big challenge in itself, considering Mista is one of the main characters of Part 5, and he has the most fights out of all the main cast in Part 5. He is basically the complete opposite of Hol Horse and is always willing to put his life on the line for his friends. I mean, technically, Hol Horse does redeem himself in the spin-off manga, which, I mean, isn't canon, so we can't really include that. In terms of mentality they will both have going into the fight, I think Mista sweeps this pretty easily. He's way more brave than Hol Horse and way more willing to take risks. Like, if he gets the edge on Mista, you know, he'll probably be very cocky and arrogant. Now, in terms of physical capabilities, I think Mista wins this by a landslide. In Mista's fight with White Album, he easily tanked over 5 gunshots. And I think Hol Horse's best feat was like killing Avdol, which he didn't even kill fully, and it was a 2v1, so it doesn't really count. And in terms of durability for Hol Horse, he has nothing on that scale to match Mista. So in their actual fight, there's a higher probability that Mista will be able to tank more of Hol Horse's shots than Hol Horse can take of his. In terms of strength, I don't really think it's going to matter all that much. Even if Hol Horse does have the advantage on Mista in size and things like that, I feel like their stands are just too different apart, and Mista's stand, you know, has the overall advantage. I think I mentioned this earlier as well. I think Hol Horse's bullets can also bend. So, like, we saw this in Part 3, for example, when he was fighting Polnareff. His bullets like bent around his sword, which could actually help a lot in terms of dealing with Mista. And this could be a major advantage for Hol Horse if Mista doesn't know this going into the battle. Since we're on about physical capabilities, talking about Hol Horse, he knows the famous Joestar technique of running away, so obviously he outclasses Mista in speed. But unfortunately, overall, I think Mista does outclass him just because he has that plot armor of being a main character in Part 5. Alright, this may seem like a weird question, but looking at the model of their guns might actually help us determine which one is a stronger stand. This could also help us determine the fire rate of the gun and the handling. So if you didn't know, Hol Horse's Emperor is actually based on the Smith & Wesson Model 44, while Mista's was explicitly based on the Smith & Wesson Revolver Model 33. What surprised me here is Emperor is a way more stronger gun than Mista's. While Sex Pistols being easier to carry about, who even needs to worry about carrying about when Hol Horse can literally just spawn his gun in his hand? Like, this would be more of a problem with Hol Horse because he possesses the obviously bigger gun, but he can just spawn it in, so he doesn't even need to worry about losing the gun. While Mista needs to constantly worrying about reloading the gun. Another thing we need to take into account is also the win rate. So for example, I'll put Hol Horse's win rate up on screen. This does include the spin-off manga with Josuke, which I mean isn't canon, but I want to include it because it's more Hol Horse content. And then I'll also put up Mista's win rate, and Mista's win rate is significantly higher, but considering he was on a team, it's kind of unfair. But let's just include his solo wins, and we'll compare the wins that they both got against their foes. I feel like Bruno's lose shouldn't really count because it was just the work of fate that kind of got it going. And there wasn't much he could do in that situation against the Rock to stop it from happening. But his solo win was beating Sale on the truck. That's the truck guy that they were fighting. He was able to beat him solo-handed, so fair enough to him. And who Hol Horse has lost to is he's lost to every single member of the Part 3 gang. 3 times, not to mention. But in all fairness, he did beat Pet Sounds and a couple of manipulated civilians. Yeah, but if you didn't know, most of these fights are from the spin-off manga where Hol Horse meets Josuke Higashigata. I don't even know. It's such a random spin-off. So overall, I think I'm going to give it to Mista, okay? He might not have the physical gun that Hol Horse has, and he might not have the firing power that Hol Horse does, but he exceeds in battle IQ. This fight really does come down to battle IQ because it's a ranged fight and they're not going to be up close. And even with all the advantages that Emperor has, I think Mista will be able to counter them because he'll figure out a way around it. Still, I think it would be close, and even with their personalities differentiating a lot, it would be more of a close fight than a lot of people might think. And it also really does come down to mindset. Mista's a lot more resilient than Hol Horse, so that will definitely be a major factor. But anyway, that is my final placement. I do think Mista would beat Hol Horse, probably high diff, high mid diff. But if you guys enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to stay tuned for my next uploads. Click on the video on the top left or top right, I don't know where it will be, but click on it if you want to see more videos from me. But anyway, make sure to like and subscribe and stay tuned for some of my next videos. See you in the next one, guys.